Hey, hi Stacey.
Hi, Ericka. How are you?
Good. Um, let's see here. Turning on video. Where is that? Oh, there it is.
Thanks everybody for joining. It looks like we have about 25 people, 24 people on right now. We're going to give everybody a few more minutes to join. Um, so just hold tight for a few minutes. We'll start at 5:03. We want to make sure we really keep this to an hour, and we have a lot to go over, but we also want to make sure that people don't miss the first pieces. And thanks for being here. If you've joined us in the last minute, we're holding off to start things till 5:03, so just another minute here while last people join us, and then we'll kick things off. Thanks for being here. Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. It looks like we're at about 45, approaching 50 people. Really excited to have a large group of you here today. My name is Stacey Rutland, and I am founder of Income Movement, an organization that that was founded in September of 2019, specifically um, to build a movement for basic income. You know, we're working towards eradicating poverty as much as possible, working towards economic justice. And from our perspective, UBI is certainly an important first step towards that. And so we have been we've been putting a lot of energy and effort into the building grassroots community actions and events for people to be able to rally around. We hosted the Basic Income March last year, and we'll be doing that again this year. And we decided to do this event, this meeting, really because Income Movement had our mid-year retreat, and we wanted to, as we were thinking about what the second half of 2020 would look like, we wanted to outline initiatives and projects. And of course, through that process, there was a large number of those initiatives that could really benefit from volunteer and community engagement and action. And so we wanted to start a conversation with the community, share some of the ideas and initiatives that we have lined up for the rest of the year. Through the process of doing that, we met with a large variety of different organizations within the basic income community: Humanity First Movement, Humanity Forward, Fund for Humanity, Economic Security Project, and others, and talked through really where are there overlaps in the work that our organizations are doing, and how do we want to support each other and support the community at large for as we move into a very busy and an important summer of political activity. And so through that process, we were working with Humanity First Movement and Humanity Forward in particular around the grassroots side of things. And so what we want to share today is a set of initiatives over the next 6 months that we're going to be working on. And we're going to be working on them together in kind of partnership with Humanity Forward and Humanity First Movement. So Ericka, I'm going to pass it over to Ericka in a moment, and she's going to help present some of the different initiatives here today that are opportunities for the community to come together. And as a kind of level set, so that you guys know, we're going to go through quite a bit of information, and we'll save some time at the end for questions that come up. But we want to really make sure that during this hour together that we have a chance to go through both opportunities and initiatives for that the community can get engaged in, but also a bit about the process of what that will look like, the tools that we have in place to help make that happen, and make sure that you get enough information that you can make some decisions about how you want to engage moving forward. If there's things that are very exciting and interesting to you, we want to make sure that that you have a chance to get in on some of those projects at the early phase, because many of these projects are just kicking off. So I'm going to hand it over to Ericka so she can do a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll move into the real meat of the conversation.
Hey everybody, am I able to have video, Stacey?
You should be able to, but I can futz around with it and make sure that you have that. But
yeah, no problem. So yeah, I'm Ericka. I'm from Humanity Forward, and my role with Humanity Forward is membership and operations director. So what that means is I get to spend a lot of time with the Yang Gang, and I get to make sure that things run smoothly in the office. I just wanted to give a brief overview of what Humanity Forward has been working on lately. We have, which I'm going to get into in depth later, our initiatives. But right now, we just released the Data Dividend Project, which is, feeds right into the data as a property right, and you can sign up for that at the website, datadividendproject.com. We also are working on the podcast. Andrew's very active with that. New guests every week. Sometimes we release 2 podcasts a week. We have the Hudson UBI trials that we're working on. We just did a South Carolina UBI trial. So we've got a lot of things going on at Humanity Forward. I'm very excited to be here today to tell you about our initiatives that we're working on with the volunteers. There's plenty to do, and I'm very excited to get started. I hope you are too. It's time to come down from the mountainside and get to work. So I'll pass it back to Stacey.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ericka. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and this first kind of document that we go through will be a good opportunity to outline some of the key initiatives that we've been working on together kind of collectively across our organizations. Okay, so, and again, Ericka was just talking about a variety of initiatives that Humanity Forward is working on. Some initiatives make sense for volunteers to be a part of, and some are maybe internal or have a very kind of small team that's engaged in them, like Yang Speaks and such. But what we're really going to focus on today are those initiatives in depth in this conversation are the initiatives that are really designed for heavy engagement from the community and from volunteers. So just to kind of help level set that. The more you get involved in any of the grassroots organizing, you'll start to have a better sense of other initiatives that are getting worked on besides seen them on social media or on our websites and stuff like that. And we do anticipate that more initiatives will be first shared with you guys as the 6 months progresses. So what we're really also focusing on here are the things that absolutely must kick off in July and early August in order for us to kind of hit the goals that we've outlined for them. But we also didn't want to overwhelm everybody with all the things for the next 6 months because it's a lot to take in. So right now we really are concentrating on efforts that are going to kick off in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Before we dive into the actual initiatives, we did want to I spoke about this for a few minutes at the top of the conversation, but in our conversations in kind of designing these initiatives, but also for the last several months, Income Movement has really been working with a coalition of organizations and building that coalition to make sure that we're all on the same page, make sure that when there are initiatives that are happening, that we're all aware of them, that we can be supporting each other's ideas, each other's initiatives. And so conversations with each of these organizations that are, very much so focused on and working on universal basic income and with the goal of getting a federal UBI passed, they have been part of all of these conversations. So I wanted to make sure that it didn't feel like this was just an Income Movement and Humanity Forward effort, in the sense that Fund for Humanity, Economic Security Project, and certainly Humanity First Movement have been deeply involved in a lot of these conversations and will be involved in a lot of the decisions moving forward on kind of the scope of these initiatives as well. Okay, so this is a really basic kind of overview of the different initiatives that have volunteer and community action components to them. So on the left, you see the the 3 kind of pillars to growing a movement. These are things that Income Movement has we outlined these at the beginning of our organization. They've kind of been part of our strategic plan from the beginning. And really this comes out of what we've seen historically are the 3 most important kind of pillars to any successful movement, whether it's civil rights or LGBTQ and gay rights movements. When you look at like how they were able to be effective in getting laws passed, they were really working on these 3 pillars consistently. So that grassroots growth and grassroots engagement, the thought leadership, making sure that the right information, the right pieces of legislation, all of those things were being presented at the right time, and furthering the conversation in between, figuring out what the kind of shared and collective language is to talk about the movement. And then of course, political impact. This is what we're really all kind of driving towards, is how can we make sure that the people in power actually pass legislation so that we can have a federal basic income. So thinking about the next 6 months, that's kind of a good framework for thinking about what are the initiatives and what are the opportunities for engagement. The first column here are Income Movement specific initiatives. So these are things that we have on our initiative pipeline for the next 6 months, and that we're going to be focusing energy on, that has a lot of opportunities for volunteers. The far right are similarly Humanity Forward specific initiatives that have a lot of kind of community engagement and volunteer engagement. And then in the center are the initiatives where Income Movement and Humanity Forward are doing a deep partnership. So this means we're really getting into the weeds together on the details of how these might function. We're doing very coordinated efforts around what are the kind of requirements from a volunteer perspective, those kinds of things. Now, just because the COVID Relief Calling Program falls under Humanity Forward's kind of core purview, Income Movement and all of the organizations that are on that first slide we're still dedicated to promoting each other's work and staying in kind of clear communication with each other about the work, to make sure that we're kind of limiting those redundancies, that that if we're interested in similar things, then that's a time to maybe come together as a partnership, so that we don't have volunteers or donor dollars going to similar programs in totally siloed ways. So that gives you a sense of what is here. We're going to go into some details about what each of these things are, but this is just kind of a nice level set. So I'll move into talking a little bit about the income movement initiatives. And again, the goal out of this, this meeting is really to make sure that you guys have the information you need to make some decisions about how you might want to engage over the next 6 months. And engagement can be as simple as participating in something. It could be as, or as complex as managing or leading something, or somewhere in between, helping organize. And so, or bringing your expertise to bear that is directly applicable to helping create assets or tools that will be helpful for the kind of the success of the initiatives. So as we go through, definitely we have Liz on the call also, and she's basically kind of tracking and monitoring questions as they come up. And we'll make sure that when we have the last 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes of the conversation, we can make sure that we get to some of those questions, but we don't want to get too deep into any one specific topic, so to make sure that we have time for all. So this next slide, and I know some of this content is a little bit small, so but I'm going to spend most of my time kind of away from this page. So the initiatives that we have going on the grassroots side that are kind of unique to income movement is the Basic Income March. I think like I said at the top of the hour, we hosted this last year, the kind of first annual Basic Income March. We're doing it again. We knew very quickly that it was going to be an annual event because we saw such an amazing turnout last year. I think we had 30 cities across the globe participate, more than 20 here in the United States. So it is a global event. We're expanding to 3 flagship cities in the US. Last year we had 2. I'm going to go ahead and share the website real quick so that we can just kind of move to that piece as much as possible. I just want to show you where the things are so that you can find it later, because sometimes it's helpful to see it. So this is the Basic Income March website. We have a countdown. We've got 80 days until September 19th. That's our timeline, our targeted date. It's the last weekend of the International Basic Income Week, so it actually is kind of the culminating event for a lot of different actions that are happening that week. And when you come here, you can click on attend an event, and it's going to take you to our map view of the larger campaign. And this is going to help you identify where events are already scheduled for, already planned for, where we have hosts and organizers on the ground. If you've come here and there's nothing in your area and you're feeling bold and interested in ensuring something happens, you can always click to host. And you can go through a pretty simple, straightforward process of establishing an event in your area. We have, and we'll get to kind of the process towards the end of how we're managing the projects, but the moment you become a host, you'll be funneled into a Slack channel, of email group, as well as a meeting time once a week that we get together to actually do the planning. We're doing a lot of support here, and you can see under the Get Involved tab, as you're kind of moving through, you'll be able to see what we're doing because of COVID this year and the requirements of social distancing to keep that curve flattened. We have come up with a variety of different types of activities that we can do that might not look like a classic march. But we also, of course, want to make sure that we are providing all of the materials for people who are organizing. So we have print materials, signage. We're thinking about the different kinds of events to make sure that we're covering all the needs. And those are the kinds of things that come together that come out in our weekly organizer meetings. We'll be rolling out a social media calendar and providing a lot of the different assets that you'll need to be able to promote as well in the next couple of weeks. So, so the idea here is really to support people who want to do the organizing of these events, make sure that it's as seamless and easy as possible. Income Movement is also committed to helping shoulder some of the costs for these. So printing costs and things like that, those are all things that we want to make sure don't come out of pocket for people on the ground. So those are things we'll also talk about in the weekly organizer meetings about what that process looks like to make sure that that all that you're doing is really spending time trying to kind of drum up support, drum up your community to come and turn out, and organize teams to help support you in doing that. I'm gonna go back to, sorry, I have to keep going kind of back and forth. The other project, so that's the Unique Grassroots project. It's a big one, the Basic Income March. Obviously, there's a lot of events. On the thought leadership side, something that we're working on is really thinking about how to find a central location for information and tools that the larger UBI community can engage in, and not having it tied to any one organization. A big part of our goals at Income Movement are really to reduce the siloing effect that can happen when you have a lot of different organizations engaged and involved in a movement and building that movement. And so, you know, a lot of the conversations that are happening, a lot of the sharing of assets are happening on Slack channels that are unique or specific to organizations, or a variety of different channels where you have to kind of get invited to it to be part of it in order to even see what's happening there. So we're exploring ideas around forums and tools that allow us to share information, and really with the goal of it being a location that people can go to learn more, even if they aren't totally sold on UBI. How can they learn a little bit more about it? And we can pull in some of the best resources that that Basic Income Today and, you know, Scott Santons and others have going, but also the ability to kind of share from a community-based level what people think are the best tools out there, the best information, to have those opportunities for teaching, sharing. If people have really great memes or have done really cool infographics or are working on their own pet project around data analysis and they want to share it with the larger community, we want to have a place for all of that great work to be able to be shared. And then on the political impact side, we have two primary efforts in addition to supporting UBI candidates. We'll talk about that a little bit later because that's a shared area with Humanity Forward. But right now, we feel like our biggest issue or the biggest goal that we have for July and August in particular is to establish UBI as a political movement and really help make the shift for the community, but also for the media and the political establishment, the shift from being a single candidate focused set of supporters into a movement, and what that looks like, what that means, and why it is that the political establishment needs to take the basic income community seriously. So we have we hosted a Yang Gang census in March, and we've been looking through and analyzing that and pulling together a report that's going to get launched early next week to help define who the Yang Gang was, to help solidify the Yang Gang as a powerful political group, and so that the political establishment can't think of all of us as a fringe group, but rather a very dedicated group. We're going to look at the primary voter results that have come out of the many races where there's been a UBI candidate running, to start to really look at the power of UBI at the polls to help further establish, and some other data points for us to be able to get deeper into who we are and how engaged we are as a community. And really, we want to make sure that we can then bring some of that political influence and political capital into conversations with Biden and the DNC, and getting them to take a public stance on UBI in some time related to around the 2020 convention. At the same time, besides supporting UBI candidates, we also want to find the candidates who maybe don't currently support UBI but have a lot of alignment around economic justice on their current policies, find those that are in tight races, and start to have conversations with them about why it may be of value for them to adopt UBI. And so that's another component, that thinking about how we can be effective in 2020 leading up to November. It's not just already existing UBI candidates, but how can we nudge people who maybe are pretty close to UBI into that? And of course, establishing ourselves as a political movement is kind of key to that. So that's why we're starting there and then moving into the second part. So that's Income Movement's unique pieces. I'm going to hand it over to Ericka to talk a little bit about Humanity Forward's unique efforts that has lots of opportunities for you all to get involved, and then we'll focus on the shared ones after that.
Thanks, Stacey. I just wanted to thank you I wanted to thank Income Movement, because you are really killing it with the initiatives for agitating Congress. I'm just so excited to help and participate in those events. So in terms of our grassroots, we have a COVID relief calling program that involves, we give out micro grants to individuals who've applied on our website for the program. They are started out being individuals that were from the gig economy and didn't really have any resources to turn to. So we've expanded the program. We have several applicants. It's been very fruitful in exposing us to individuals that need help. So what our volunteer initiative is that people can register with us to do calling, and the calling is really, it's a very rewarding experience. The relief applicants, we have data that they've submitted during their application process, but the role of the caller is just to confirm the data and the details that they submitted, so that we can get a payment out to them as quickly as possible. It's a great opportunity to help get money into the hands of people that need it. There's a variety of reasons why, people lose their jobs. There could be situations where nobody in the household is working. They have 4 kids and they don't have enough income to help feed their families. So this work is really important. So if you are interested in supporting this, please get in touch with us. Anyone can sign up making calls at the address that's listed there for COVID calling training. One of the things that I like to say related to the COVID calling is that normally when we do phone banking with political environment, you are asking somebody to give you something. But in this situation, you have the opportunity to give somebody something, and it's really rewarding. And you could come into our Slack channel and talk to anyone that's been doing the calling, and they've all will tell you that it's been a very rewarding experience. So I guess I could go through and show you the section of our website.
Yeah,
is that
totally.
something I can do?
I'll stop sharing and you can share your screen if you like.
All right, let's see. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so this is our COVID relief webpage. If you haven't ever been here before, It just goes through a little bit of the details of why this is an effective program for getting money into the hands of people. And it has a link here for getting help, which takes them to a Google form that they fill out, asking for pertinent information so that we can give them the help they need. We also have a section here for volunteering that relates to COVID directly. You can sign up here. This is more for if you are a partner organization and you want to do some donating, and it's for organizations more so here. So this section of the website gets a lot of attention, mostly for support, but we do collect donations here as well. If you scroll all the way to here. So we do need more donations. So if you know anyone that is in a business or anything like that, that you think they could afford to help with this program, I'd greatly appreciate you sending them to this page. I mean, it's just a brief overview. This is pretty basic and simple, but if you know anyone that needs help, you can also send them here as well. I'm just going to say it one more time. I really would love it if you would come and support our COVID relief program. We can go back. I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you, Stacey.
Yeah.
So one of the other personal touch initiatives that we have are the Humanity Hangs. This was a direct ask from Andrew. I don't know if any of you remember when he was, I think, playing basketball out in the driveway with one of his kids. He was like, it would really be great if we could get people together on calls, on the Zoom thing. And so that became an actual thing that we wanted to make happen. And I know that the Yang Gang was doing Yang Hangs, and so we wanted to open it up even more so for the public to be able to join us with that. So the Humanity Hangs are really a great place for you to come and join in and have a conversation with people that are mostly because they were shut in from COVID, and it was an outlet for some social interaction. But it is a great resource for people to get together and build communities. And as my lead volunteer likes to say, hangs full of humanity. And all are welcome. And it's not just for people that are in our movement. You can invite family and friends. It's also a great way that we introduce endorsed candidates. There will be people that come through that are running for office, as well as sometimes Andrew pops in. We have staff that come through. Sometimes we have special guests. So we try to make it more than just, people coming and hearing about our movement. It's really just to come and get together and get to know each other and build a sense of community within the movement. So there's a link there for joining Humanity Hangs. We have a calendar that's specific for it. If you click on that link, it'll take you to the calendar. You can register right there on that calendar. And if you're interested in being a moderator, that's an opportunity for you to come into the space for the Humanity Hangs and just help keep the conversations moving along. It's very fun. We have a good time as co-hosts getting all set up for it, and et cetera. So if you're interested in that aspect of the Humanity Hangs, we're happy to have you. And then down ballot candidate support. This is our team is very active in taking care of our endorsed candidates. We spend a lot of time getting it right for them, focusing on the things that are most important for those running for office. We make sure that they have what they need for phone banking, for texting, and just anything that they feel that they may be short on. We try to fill the gap. There are 3 ways to be successful with the campaign. And 1, you win the race and fill an election position. Of course, that's the greatest part of having our candidates supported. 2, you shift the Overton window on a topic and increase its likelihood of entering the political mainstream. We have these UBI candidates that are really important for our movement, and we want to just put as much as we can into supporting them. And they did. And then third, you activate a previously disengaged cohort of voters. Every campaign's major ask is phone banking. So we really are putting together a program to help make it easy on you. You go through training. Right now would be a great time for you to join up and help us actually call other members of the Yang Gang back to being active. So that's a good way to start practicing doing phone banking with people that you're probably familiar with. So yeah, so to increase the agility of every campaign on the ground, we're just trying to remove all the time sensitive and valuable direct voter contact from their plates. We're just trying to really help them get off the ground running. And all the expertise that our volunteers have has been really helpful. And yeah, so please come to us. Help us phone bank. We really need your support, and hope that you see the benefit of these candidates getting that support and helping us move our movement forward. I guess with that, Stacey, I will throw it back to you.
Awesome, thank you. So now we're at the kind of that center pillar, the initiatives that Income Movement and Humanity Forward are working very closely on, as well as Humanity First Movement. So, so there's a few things here on the grassroots. The COVID Congressional Pressure Action Plan is pretty critical right now. And so to give you guys a little bit of background, Income Movement has had a COVID Congressional Pressure Action Plan going really since COVID, since our government decided to recognize that COVID was an issue and start making decisions about social distancing and closing things down. There's been a variety of things that we've done in the past, and it's the same for now. We were engaged and involved in getting Congress, letters written to Congress members, petitions, all kinds of different activities during the creation of CARES. And then when we knew that HEROES was coming up and that they were doing the work on that, we started to work very closely with Economic Security Project and a project that they call the War Room that has somewhere between maybe 30 and 50 organizations that are made up mostly of policy makers and lobbyists for a variety of social and economic justice issues. So from education to healthcare, and kind of everything that you could think of that has any kind of lobbying effort or policy written around it. Everybody's been getting together and having conversations about how we can get ongoing monthly payments to people during this time. So all of those organizations all recognize that one of the most fundamental and important things that Congress could be doing right now is to get money into people's hands, essentially a emergency UBI. And so those people who have a lot of relationships with people on the Hill and members of Congress have been having a lot of backdoor conversations, trying to understand who are the best targets, who are the people that are most resistant that they can start to, apply pressure to. We've been working at the grassroots side to coordinate with that effort so that constituents are writing letters to their Congress members at the same time, so that we can have social media campaigns where we get things trending to help get the attention of the media, so that Congress members are getting it from that side as well. In the process of doing all of this, we have created a website, bailoutthepeople.com. This is a one-stop shop for all of the actions associated with the COVID kind of congressional pressure plan. What we've heard from those relationships on the Hill is that right now, this week and the week following the 4th of July are the weeks that Congress is starting to write the next series of legislation. It's clear that anything coming out of the House is not going to get passed by the Senate, that the Senate majority GOP is putting a complete hold on anything that comes out of the House, which is where HEROES came out of. CARES came from the Senate and then went to the House. So right now, the Senate is deep in the world of trying to build the next piece of stimulus legislation. We know that at the end of this month, most of the provisions of the CARES Act are end. So we know that the additional unemployment, any additional support that small businesses have been receiving, any support on rent and pauses, all of those kinds of things are going away. So August 1st is going to be a pretty dire moment for even more millions of people in our country. And so we want to make sure the first 10 or 12 days of building that legislation is really the time that we can get monthly ongoing payments to people in there. So it's all hands on deck right now for this. We've been here once before with HEROES, and that was when we really started to see some pretty amazing movement. It's when we were putting all this pressure on is when Nancy Pelosi said in a press conference, maybe it's time for us to start looking at a guaranteed income. It was when more than 80 people signed on the open letter from Representative Tlaib saying that they would be behind supporting a $2,000 a month or a kind of monthly ongoing payments to the people as part of the next stimulus. So we know that we can move the needle, and that's what we're planning on doing for the next 2 weeks. So there's letter writing campaigns. When you go to bailoutthepeople.com, there's letter writing, there's phone calls, there's letter to the editor campaigns, there's petitions, there's a wide variety. And one of the more important and key things that's there as well is this July 11th People's Stimulus event. And I'm going to share this screen real quick. Again, I'm going to stop, so I apologize. But what this event is about is, let's see which one is the right one to share. There it is. This event is specifically about, I'm gonna come and get to it. Here we go. This is, first, the organizers of this is the Movement for a People's Party. So this is a group out of Bernie's 2016 campaign who really have moved towards establishing a third party, a People's Party. They have this July 11th action. The idea here is to do a car parade specifically to Congress members and senators' homes. We have the addresses. They got the addresses of all of the homes, and hand deliver the demands of what outlines this people's stimulus. It includes defunding police, and this is really about a stimulus to help address our current situation, both COVID and the uprising, because we think keeping people safe and keeping people healthy, there's a lot of overlap between economic insecurity, racial injustice, and violence against people of color. It's really all kind of tied together. So the demands include defunding the police, $2,000 a month to everybody for the duration of the crisis, and other things like a rent pause and continuing the student loan pause and things like that. So what we're doing here is we've partnered with Movement for People's Party. Humanity Forward has Humanity First Movement, as well as a wide variety of other organizations. So this has become definitely a large coalition of organizations that are getting behind this. You can see on this map view all of the different events. I think they're at 20 now. Every day more getting added to them. And this is an opportunity for you to, similar to the basic income march, if you are in a part of the country and you're not seeing a pin here, you can scroll and see that you can search by zip code there's a lot of overlap in some of these areas. There's, you know, things, some events very close together, so you can see which is actually closest to you. If you don't see anything, you can host an event. And again, there's support for you to be able to do this. Income Movement is working to all of our letter writing campaigns, kind of all of these efforts that we have. We're going to actually print copies of all of these so that they're part of what's getting hand delivered to senators and Congress members, representatives as part of this. So it's going to be a list of demands, and it's also going to be letters and stories from their constituents who are saying, you need to take care of us, you need to do right by the people, and here's the things that you need to do in order to make that happen. This is landing on July 11th. It's right in the first 10 days of them building this legislation. This is aligned with all of the other efforts that are happening from the basic income, the bailoutthepeople.com website. So there's a pretty, and it's also being coordinated with the war room effort of the lobbyists and the policymakers in the backroom discussions with senators. We are, Income Movement is, and Humanity First Movement and Humanity Forward are focused a lot on the Senate because we know that's where so much is happening right now. And we've targeted a very specific set of senators that we think if we can get them to adopt and support this, we might actually make some really good headway. So I'm taking a lot of time on this, and I apologize. We might move a little bit quicker through, but the urgency around this is so significant that that I think it's worth spending the time. So now I'm going to go back to the. I think I'm just going to share my whole desktop so I can just bounce around quickly and easily for you guys. So to go back to the efforts here, we've got thought leadership. This is Basic Income Coalition that we're working on together. It's the bringing together of organizations. It's that first slide that we looked at, like how do we make sure we're all connected and in touch with each other. The most important piece from our perspective around this coalition is to make sure that we're being very respectful of volunteers' time and volunteer donor dollars. We want to make sure that that we are thinking about all of the larger kind of infrastructure and larger opportunities and initiatives, and that we're very clear and very targeted and focused. And so that's a big part of what that Basic Income Coalition is about. And then congressional candidate support, it's pretty straightforward, and Ericka did a great job just talking about what's at the heart of that. We do have a few candidates. The Income Movement is only endorsing at the federal level, and Humanity Forward and Income Movement are endorsing several federal level candidates, have those in common. So David Kim, Robbie, and Blair are all three candidates that are running for Congress. David Kim has made it through to the general, and as well as Blair, and then Robbie, the Massachusetts primary is, I believe, in early September, so it's a very late primary. Our primary goal in working together, Income Movement and Humanity Forward, on these congressional candidate supports is about giving you guys, the community, an opportunity to get to know these candidates. We know that a huge motivation for many of us that were significant supporters of Andrew Yang, that passion and that drive came from our relationship with him, our understanding of who he was. And, you know, a lot of that was being able to have access to a lot of interviews, long form interviews, and podcasts and all of those kinds of things. And so we want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for you guys to have some of that level of engagement with the candidates, because we know those relationships, when they get built, are the opportunity for you guys to decide who are the one or two candidates that I want to put some energy into. It can be really difficult to do phone banking for candidates that you don't have a really strong relationship with. It can feel a little bit disconcerting. And so we want to make sure that when you do come to the to kind of the volunteer table for candidates, that you're doing it in a way that feels really authentic and true to you. So we're hosting town halls that will be an opportunity for you to ask direct questions. Income Room is going to coordinate Twitter takeovers for them. So for a day, you can see all the things that they're posting and pushing out into the world. And really thinking about social media campaigns, articles, just giving kind of longer form opportunities, as well as kind of fun, engaging little bite-sized things for you to learn more about the candidates. So these are all of the things. I want to just very briefly talk a little bit about the process, because I think from our experience in organizing, the devil really is in the details. You know, there's a lot here, and that can all feel all great and wonderful, and then you can actually start diving into the work and it can all fall apart. And so we want to talk a little bit about what we have in place, the structure that we have in place to help support this, and what it means if you guys are interested in investing some time and energy into these, what that would look like. So I'm gonna go pretty quickly here, but I want to make sure that that you guys have a chance to understand that before we move into asking you guys to actually start to, you know, sign up for things or think about things. So I have an example here of what a project document looks like. So this is a document for our, specifically for our COVID-19. This is an example of what this might look like. So if you, after this conversation, you decide, hey, this is actually pretty cool, and I'd be interested in helping work on some of these COVID actions, not just signing a letter, but maybe helping write a letter, or help do some of the, you know, help figure out how to promote the petition. You will have a chance in a moment to sign up for that, and then we would move you into the group, the team. We have a Slack channel for each of these projects. We're very much so project oriented. So if you work out in the world, in the kind of private sector around projects, then some of this will probably look pretty familiar to you. The idea here is meeting, you know, once a week in the form of almost like a stand-up. It might just be 30 minutes. It could be very quick, but an opportunity for the team to come together. We have a full list of all of the different tasks that are needed. Each task, and this is built in an intelligent way, so every team will have leads, as well as kind of the team of volunteers who are helping do the tasks. The leads are often doing a lot of the tasks also, but we build a task list out. We build it in an intelligent order. So what if there's things that are dependent on other things, we make sure that we really are breaking them down into bite-sized pieces so people could do them in just an hour or two most of the time. If it's a bigger and heavier lift, we might put multiple people on it, or we might break it down into something smaller, or somebody might say, hey, I've got 10 hours this week and I can totally pull this off. We don't finish a meeting until we have an owner on a task and a due date associated. We think it's pretty critical, and it's what helps us all hold each other accountable and hold ourselves accountable. We find that the most effective projects and teams are ones where there's a lot of really clear timelines. It's something that everybody's buying into. Nobody has to put their name down to own anything if they can't. It's also an opportunity for us to, when we do our weekly check-in, if something happens in somebody's life that they didn't expect, and so they aren't going to be able to dedicate as much time for a week or two, or for, you know, as long as they can foreseeable see, it's a moment to be able to talk to the team and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this. Can somebody help pick up some of this? And we can make sure that we're still going to hit our timelines and be able to accomplish the things that we need to, without overburdening people. And one of the roles of the leads is to manage that and think about that and bring more volunteers into the team if we need them in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish. Some things that we work on aren't time sensitive, but things like the COVID plan and campaign, it's very time sensitive. We know that we got to get this figured out in the next 3 weeks. So we want to just make sure that we're kind of flexing up and down appropriately. So with that, we're going to drop, Liz will drop into the chat a link right now to a form that is an opportunity for you to let us know if you're interested in supporting any of these efforts. If there's something here that you're like, oh damn, I want to be involved with that, this is the time to kind of plant that flag in the ground with us. It's a very simple form on the right. You just enter some of your information. You don't have to do your phone number if you don't want to. It's really just your name and email and zip code, so we have a basic amount of information. And then you can literally just click whatever projects you're interested in and add your name. And like I said, that's going to then move into our volunteer coordinator team, who will follow up with you, get you into the right flow, make sure that you have access to communications, etc. we're going to pause here for a minute, and we're going to let you guys actually do this. So I'd like for you, if you are interested, I want to give you a chance right now to click on that link and fill out the information. And so I'm going to play the Jeopardy song for a minute while we all do our task together.
Can we do that during our sign up link too?
Okay, I'll give you just a few more moments. And then the last piece is, if you did just send us something and you aren't already a volunteer with us, we can certainly kind of help funnel you through the system. But one of the easiest ways to make sure that you're getting all of the communication and information is to sign up to be a volunteer. It's on our website. It's a pretty straightforward form, and it's got its own little name up at the top, volunteer. This will just make sure that as we move through, that you don't get lost in the shuffle. And because we're moving so quickly, we basically pull from this volunteer the latest updates and send a whole kind of onboarding to you to help you understand how to get set up on Slack and what the channels mean and all that lovely stuff. So do take a moment. We're not going to pause because I want to make sure that we have the last, few minutes here to answer questions that you guys might have. But what we've gone over really is a pretty quick overview of all of these opportunities and some ways that you can plug in and make sure we can follow up with you if you're interested. I'm going to let Liz, if you want to ask any questions that are kind of popping up.
I just sent you one about, do you have to be American to volunteer with all these things?
No, yeah, and you can just read them out loud. That'll be probably easiest. You don't have to be American to volunteer. There's lots and lots of opportunities. Besides that, some of these activities like the Basic Income March are happening internationally, but a lot of what we're doing is digital, and we also know there's a lot of expats out there that are in different countries that still want to be, doing the good fight for legislation here in the States, but are abroad. So, but even if you're not an expat and you're in another country, we would love the help for sure.
Someone else asked, can you sign up for more than 3 events?
We're going to start you at 3, and let's see where we go from there. I think some of our experience in organizing is that people get really excited and can sometimes overcommit. And because we really want to make sure that we're effective in our teams, we would be more inclined to have you at least focus for the first 2 to 4 weeks on a smaller number to start to understand what it looks like to be working at this kind of pace. And then if you want to go on to other projects, we certainly are amenable to that. I think that first 3 is a good way to get your feet wet. It's also worth noting that several of these projects are actually very time compressed and will be done in the next 2 to 4 or 6 weeks. So something like the Basic Income March will take longer. It'll also take a lot, it'll be a heavy lift kind of throughout. But like the COVID plan, that piece will be over by early July. I mean, towards the 3rd or 4th week of July. And so then it might free you up to start doing Basic Income March work when we head into August or September. So so there may be lots of opportunities for you to do more, but just kind of piecemeal it out a little.
Is it hard to find representatives' home addresses for the July 11th event?
We have them all in a spreadsheet. So no, it's not hard at all. And that's thanks to Movement for a People's Party. They provided that. So if you are interested in hosting or helping organize, definitely go to that map view that they have on their website and either click the host button or click the attend button. You can click on one of the pins and then you get to say that you want to attend, I think, from there. And that piece will be provided, and we'll try as much as we can to provide as many of the other assets, signs for people's cars. We'll see if we can pull some of those things together for people to print at their homes. And then also the printing of all of the stories and the letters that people have written to those representatives and senators when you're delivering the demands.
Are there things to do for July 11th that don't involve going to people's houses?
Absolutely. So there's, like I said, a large portion of the actions that are on bailoutthepeople.com are directed towards representatives and senators. So every time you take an action there, we're going to try to translate that into a physical copy of that thing. So we have a petition going. We will deliver that petition to McConnell and Schumer as Senate leadership. We will deliver any letters that you write to your senators and representative, and make sure that's part of the hand delivery. We also, if you are into, if you have a good community, you can push and promote it within your friends, social media. We'll have lots of different assets that you can use, to little graphics and stuff to be able to do that. And of course, also, if you want to help create some of those graphics, if you want to do anything on the creative side to support it, signage, any of those kinds of things, there's certainly a lot of opportunities for that. And there might even be some opportunities to do a little bit of research and kind of analysis around how many people are going to some of the events. We like to be able to, at the end, summarize some things, like how many events were there, how many people participated, how many letters were delivered. And so that's a lot of spreadsheets and kind of going through. And so in anticipation of the marketing afterwards, the kind of what did we just do and accomplish together, you might be able to help pull together some of that information. So we're 2 minutes over, but I want to make sure that we can answer a few last questions. If you need to drop off, absolutely feel free to. We'll maybe stay for another 3 minutes and go 5 minutes over total. If there's more questions, Liz?
Was one about, do we have to support all 6 of the demands?
So the 6 demands are part of a Movement for People's Party. And you don't, I guess from our perspective, all of the demands are going to get delivered. So if you're uncomfortable with some of those demands and you don't want to be a physical representation of those demands, then we absolutely leave it to you to make the decision of whether or not you want to participate. From our perspective, we think that this is going to be a very, very powerful way to apply pressure to Congress, and specifically to the 11 senators that we've targeted, that we absolutely need to make a decision to support the $2,000 a month to people during this crisis. And so from our perspective, that piece is a big component, because we're printing off so many letters that are specifically focused on this idea of $2,000 a month and ongoing monthly payments to the people. So most of what's getting delivered besides the demands are probably going to be pretty emergency UBI heavy, but I think I would just leave that to each individual to make the decision on whether or not they support all 6 and if that affects their desire to participate.
There's a question about, are we partnering up with UBI Works in Canada?
So we've had lots of communication with them over this last year, and the organizers in Toronto who did the Basic Income March last year have been really gearing up and have been working with them, that organization in particular, to do a pretty solid set of events across Canada. So the last time I talked with them, they said they were hoping to get 20 events across Canada for the Basic Income March. So that's certainly a first, it's certainly a specific event that we're able to partner with. But thinking about kind of what longer term partnership might look like, we also are working with the international community. There's a kind of consortium of people across Europe and Turkey and actually South America that gets together a couple times a month, 50 or 60 people that are helping write legislation and or laws in the different countries, or our academics who are helping think through things, or economists. So we're talking to and engaged with a lot of different international leaders. And then the Basic Income March and the International Basic Income Week is that kind of opportunity for us all to come together at the same time around the issue. Okay, maybe one last question and then we'll close it up.
Will you guys be pressuring the DNC convention to endorse UBI as a Democratic Party platform?
Yes. I think as soon as we move away from we didn't talk about this extensively, but once we start to wrap the COVID action plan, we want to move into an action plan specifically for the convention. It sounds like right now that the last we heard about a week ago was that the DNC made a final decision, we'll see if it is final, that the entire convention is going to be digital. So what the protest and pressure looks like without any actual physical convention happening is an interesting challenge. But I think we're getting pretty good at digital pressure, as well as still finding ways to kind of rally people in the real world around the issues. So definitely we would like to have we don't feel very confident that there would be an official, we're still going to ask for it, but we don't feel very confident there will be an official endorsement or adoption of UBI into the 2020 platform. Although who knows? I mean, Biden right now, 2 of his top potential running mates that he's looking at are Kamala Harris and Bottoms, the mayor of Atlanta, and both have come out supporting at least emergency UBI, if not permanent UBI, as part of the mayors for a basic income. Bottoms just came out yesterday, as I'm sure most of you saw, endorsing a process for and pressure for getting a federal UBI and potentially running pilots in their cities. And I think there's actually a pilot that's a 4th Ward pilot in Atlanta that is that's in the early stages. So maybe Biden's a little more open to it than we think, but either way, we want to put that on the table and have them come out publicly and say, both the DNC and Biden say where they stand on it. We think that could impact, that might be an interesting pressure point for the general elections in November. Okay. Well, we're 8 minutes over. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ericka, for sharing all of the great work and opportunities that Humanity Forward has. Thanks to each of you for taking the time out of your evening to go through this and to participate, and all the amazing work that you've brought to the movement to date. We're really excited to see you all, to engage with you all, and we do have we're going to do this again on Thursday. So if you have people in your community that you know weren't able to attend, definitely let them know. We've recorded this, so we'll also make a public sharing of this in case you want to go back through and look at things. We'll also be we can share the document that has all the links and stuff in it as well. So that's another reason maybe to sign up to be a volunteer, so that we can send that out. We'll send that out to all of our volunteers as a part of a kind of, this is what happened in the meeting retrospective. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you all the East Coasters that stayed as late as you did. And we look forward to working together.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, Stacey, for having us.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.